Alright guys, since most of you are up in arms about us removing the AC system from this car that never worked, won't work with an SR20 unless you make completely custom lines, we have all the parts. We're going to give you guys all those parts, whoever wins the car. So if you want to try to put the AC back in this car, you can. But for our light track duty car, we don't want it. We're going to run without it. You guys will get it if you win the car, and if you want to put it in, that's on you.
Rip. What is that? You don't need that.
No, we need to get new ones.
Huh?
Hey.
What is that?
What's up, guys? What's up, guys? Welcome back to the vlog. It's your host, Mickey here. And I'm just removing brackets from our 246 so we can go off the paint. I'm trying to clean up this engine bay and get rid of a lot of the brackets that are no longer needed. This is for the factory air box. We're not using a factory air box. So that's gonna go away. We'll sand all this down, fill these holes. Bracket's gonna go away too. I don't remember what this one's for, but it's really ugly and it bothers me, so it's gonna go away. And I think that's it. And we've got a slew of holes in here. I'm gonna leave it up to Mr. Beckerman if he wants to actually fill them with weld or not. I don't think we're gonna. We're building a track car, boys. This isn't a show queen.
Let me give these guys just kind of a quick overview. By the way, it's your boy Beckerman here. The engine's out, obviously. The chassis is almost completely stripped. And I want to say a huge thank you to our friend Memo, who hooked us up with this dolly. So what we're going to be doing is once Mickey finishes the rest of that stripping of the brackets, we're going to slide this dolly underneath the 240 on the lift and then put it down onto it. And that way the thing's going to be 100% mobile. We'll be able to push it around and we'll be able to bring it up to the paint shop. Now, for those of you who are wondering what color it's going to be, you're going to have to wait.
You can't know that yet.
Guys, so I just finished cutting and trimming.
No, I can't cut.
Oh, well, you're about to cut? Go for it. Well, show me what you're about to do there.
Yeah, but I gotta take this off.
No, I can hear you.
Okay. So, as I showed you guys previously, the over fenders allow for the vision of this frame portion, which has to be removed, and we're going to be restructuring that with new metal. It's also going to allow us to have more steering lock or angle for motorsport. So we're going to go ahead and remove this. We've already done the other side. This side will get done now. It is a little bit delicate because we do have some wiring that runs back here, so you have to be very cautious. You don't go too deep with the blade. And only take what you need. You take a little bit at a time. If you need more, take more. The outside line is where the fender sits, so I've got about 1/4 inch inside that. That way we've got some room to work.
Nice. So I'm gonna go show him the other side right now. You can start cutting, brother. So this is pretty much what Mickey's gonna start doing, and he's gonna cut just a bit more so we can do the whole layer, the over layer. But yeah, this is what he was talking about. Gotta be really careful with the harness that's inside of it. See how you cut here so we can push this in. Yeah, it'll be nice. Oh, baby, look at this smoky. Oh, you almost got it.
I got it.
Is that, what is that under it? Is that melted rubber?
Inside of it. It's like the sound deadening.
The sound deadening? Yeah, it's kind of gooey. You can see it's like gooey and sticky.
My finger.
Oh no shit. Mickey said it burned his finger in case you didn't hear him. That's what the smoke's all about.
Yeah, it's this stuff.
Yeah, the foamy thingy. Yeah, rip that sucker out of there. What the? Oh, the fuse hole.
I think I'll break anytime soon, guys.
I was gonna say, you may want to cut out a little bit more. Mickey, you want to explain us what the what's going on now? Yeah, you might want to take all that stuff out.
This is one of those things where you don't want to just grab the grinder and start cutting. You want to have a little bit of a game plan before you just start whacking away at this thing. So obviously this is a bulkhead area. Anytime you have a bunch of metal that comes together and is folded over, that's done for strength. Some of these areas there's actually 3 sets of panels coming together and then folded. And we've since cut that out. This is a prime example of that. This is 2 layers folded, and this fold creates strength. Not only is it a place to join the materials together, but it also creates a... So what we found inside here on this side, which is different than the other side, is that there's actually another layer above the frame rail, just unibody rail, inside. So what we're trying to do is figure out, this is what's creating the visibility inside, whereas with the stock fender this was all covered. So what we've done is we've actually sliced this. We're going to fold this back. We want to keep this because this is our wiring harness pass through. So we've sliced it all the way up to here, and what we're going to do is fold that back, re-weld it, and at that point we've resurrected the structural integrity of that particular part, which isn't really integral, but we want to retain this. What we're trying to figure out now is how we want to cut this out, because when we get the other component that we're going to use to shape all this, we want to be smart. We don't want to make more work for ourselves, but we want to make sure that we retain the structural integrity of this area, which we can do. But it is going to require a bit more cutting. As you can see, we've already started marking some lines here. And you can see this is all still very visible with this fender on. So I don't know if many of you understand that this Rocket Bunny kit isn't just, you know, they take it out of the box and slap it on the car. That's, you know, some kits are that way. This kit is not.
At least not for this car.
Right, not for this car. We always anticipate doing that on the rear. That's normal. Because you want the car to ride lower and be wider, and you need to create clearance for that. This is a little extensive, so if you're not comfortable with the grinder and welding and all that stuff, this kit is not for you. This is something you buy and take to a body shop and have them do. Rickie and I have done stuff like this before, so although it's different than the other ones we've done, it's the same thing, just different chassis essentially. Alright, so now that I'm done cutting this car for a little while, we went ahead and moved on to the front. We went ahead and removed the center beam that goes right here. If you guys look back in the video earlier on, you will see there was an old bracket that hung down that housed the, basically housed the hood latch and then the support for the hood latch. We've gone ahead and got rid of that. We're running hood pins on this car, so not having that in the way is a lot more aesthetically pleasing. It's lighter, and it will allow air to flow better through the intercooler and radiator. So we went ahead and got rid of that, and now I'm moving on to sealing up these fenders. So basically where I'm at is Evan went ahead and welded these this morning. Rickie went ahead and buffed them down, as you guys saw. I went ahead and just used a little 3-pound hammer and just gave it a little love, maybe a little more clearance up here, and just sort of even everything out up inside. And from here I'll go ahead and grab our 3M seam sealer. This is the 3M 8367. It's a urethane seam sealer. I like this stuff because it comes in black, which is cool. Even though you tend to paint over it, it does leave a nice finish. It's sandable. Even though it's urethane, it hardens up nice, and you can actually sand it if you want. I go ahead and make a nice tape line around my working area. That way I don't get any of this onto the exterior of the car, which doesn't really matter in this case because the whole car's getting repainted, so it doesn't really hurt. But what I do like is it makes a nice line and it looks very purposeful. And it'll go ahead and seal up the car from any little pinholes or any additional areas where the elements could get inside the car. This stuff is great. I use it every time I do one of these jobs. It's never failed me. So I'm gonna go ahead and start laying this down. I'm gonna grab some gloves first. Outside, I'm actually gonna try some of this 3M high power brake parts cleaner. It's really good stuff for cleaning surfaces, and since we're not worried about hurting the paint or anything because this is already gonna get painted, I'm just gonna go ahead and spray some of this on here. It'll really help clean up the metal and allow this stuff to stick really well. Dries up and your surface is really clean. It gets rid of any oil or grease that could be there that would allow this seam sealer not to stick. So we're just gonna give it a second to dry and we'll go ahead and start putting this on. Finishing this side of the seam sealing, actually going back and just adding some additional seam sealer to some of the areas that need it. When you do these pie cuts, you create sort of pie-shaped openings up in the top here, and you want to make sure that you get enough of this seam sealer in there and fill in those cracks. As it dries, sometimes it tends to leave pinholes in those. The worst. As it dries, it tends to try to leave some pinholes I've found, and so for me, I like to go back as it's starting to harden up and try to take a look and see if I can seal off those pinholes before it dries all the way. You can always go back anytime and add more, like after it dries. I just like to do a good thorough job straight out of the gate, and that way you don't have to worry about it when you're done. You have to be a little careful because you got to remember that underneath the seam sealer a lot of times is some pretty jagged material. So
a nice thin glove works.
Trying not to cut my finger off right now. Yeah. All right, guys, it's the next day. I stayed late last night. Got a few other things done. We'll show you that in a minute. But seam sealer is now dry. One thing I said in the previous video that this actually dries and you can sand it. You can do that, but it actually is still kind of like a rubberized feel. It's polyurethane, so it is still kind of soft. But we're gonna go ahead and pull this tape off, and I'm gonna show you guys what I mean by why I do this and keeping a nice clean line. It's more of just my OCD more than anything, but that was my outer layer. And then now the inner layer, you want to peel this back nice and slow, because again, this is still very, like, it's not soft, but it's kind of rubberized, so it wants to sort of pull, as you can see. So you just kind of want to pull back away from it, and it'll rip nice and clean. So you have a nice crisp line. Oops, that's where our Clico goes.
That's so satisfying. There you go. And that is totally sealed now too.
Well, so as I was saying in the video, a lot of times once this dries, it can shift a little bit, and sometimes if you go back and look with a flashlight, what I like to do is have Ricky grab a light from the inside of the car. That way I'll look in from the outside, and if there's any light showing through, you got some little pinholes. You want to go back and just put some on your finger and just dab those closed. That way you don't get any elements in the car.
And our plan is also to redo this whole fender well too, with like a undercoating
this whole well will get re-undercoated, so this will all blend. When this car goes to paint, they'll paint to here. It'll be, you know, you'll see like the highs and lows of it through the paint, but at the same time the fender goes over it. So knowing that it's sealed is the #1 priority. All right, so I stayed late last night and got the front bumper actually properly fitted on the car. Before it was just sort of temporarily in place. One thing that I figured out, there was no instructions about this, but we actually did have to reuse, there's a metal bracket that reaches through here and then bolts onto the car here. And that's a factory bracket that comes off your 240SX front bumper. There's also a cross beam that goes in here. But since this bumper has a cutout, you no longer need that factory cross beam, so that gets thrown away. So I went ahead and fitted those last night. I got both sides of the canards actually fitted up temporarily with just some self-tapping screws. Those will get thrown in the trash after this thing comes back from paint, and we'll put some actual hardware in here that's going to be permanent. But I wanted to get everything mocked up because there was some trimming and shaving that needed to be done. This hung down about an inch here, which looked really weird since this level is here, and then it went down an inch and back in. So I went ahead and reshaped all this. But all in all, this is very solid. I would be confident going off track with this thing and not having any issues with it folding up or falling off. Oh, and the last thing, as you guys saw previously in the video, we cut out these fenders. What we did was we ordered some rear tubs that are meant for like an old hot rod application of when a lot of guys would tub the rear end of their old Camaros and Mustangs and stuff like that to get a wider tire. We've ordered a pair of those, and we're gonna go ahead and apply those to the front by just using small sections. So we can cut them, section them, weld them in, and it's gonna look like a factory wheel well in there. Actually probably nicer than all the crap that was in there before. So this is gonna turn out awesome. I can't wait to show you guys the end result. Okay guys, well thanks so much for joining us today. I hope you're following along with this build. It's super exciting for me because we're going so in depth with this 240, which is going to be an awesome car to win. So if you aren't already entering to win, you should be. Next move is to get onto this engine, get it up on the stand, get it cleaned up, and we've got a gang of bits coming in to start bolting onto this thing. So we've got a lot of work ahead of us. I hope you guys will join us going forth. We'll see you in the next epi.